Alright, people, so I'm here with another Raw review, and it was another terrible episode of Raw. I mean, I don't know who the fuck would watch this show and actually get enjoyment out of watching this for 3 hours on end. I mean, it's a terrible show. It's got no interest to it, no entertainment, no good storylines, no good characters, no good promos, no good anything pretty much. But yet there's still millions of people supposedly that get entertainment out of this. The only reason I watched it is so I could do reviews on it and bash the shit out of this company. So we got Orton cutting a promo to start off the show. So they said Tom Phillips says Orton had first degree burns. And I'm like, well, that's interesting because I know first degree burns are like the least deadly kind of burn that you could get, right? There's first, second, third. So I looked up first degree burns. They take 7 to 10 days to heal. So Orton should already be fully healed pretty much from this. I mean, first degree burns are pretty minor burns, people. And he's got like a fucking mask on, like, and it's so besides the fact that doesn't make any sense. It's a backstage promo. It's it's like one of these cinematic promos that's pre-made. And I don't like these promos, people. I don't like backstage promos. I like promos where people are out, in the ring doing it live. I don't like these pre-made promos. I mean, he had a couple good lines in there about about winning the Rumble with like no limbs, but then an hour later when Tom Phillips said it was first degree burns, that made me think, well, he's going to be completely healed by the time the Rumble comes around, so that really doesn't make any sense. And he said something about he likes pain, he feeds off of it, but again, it's like your burns are probably already healed. So just not a good way to start the show there. Then we get Charlotte defeating Peyton Royce. A really bad match here. I mean, this was just not a good match. I counted about 5 or 6 moves that were just not performed correctly. They were, I mean, maybe if you weren't looking closely, you wouldn't have saw them, but I would consider them botches. I mean, they were just sloppy wrestling, bad wrestling, and this is why the Divas division was never taken seriously. You get matches like these that have just a shit ton of botches in them, and I'm not kidding about that. There was like 5 or 6 moves. I mean, they weren't major botches, but they were just moves that were not performed correctly. Then we get Ric Flair and Lacey Evans coming down to the ring, and you're like, oh, okay, they're gonna do something. No, they don't even do anything. They come down to the ring during the match. Then we go to commercial. Then we come back from commercial, and I don't think they even put them on camera one time after that. So why the fuck are they coming down to the ring? I said this little storyline with Ric Flair and Lacey Evans is kind of interesting. Unfortunately, the PG era really hinders this development because you can't go too much into the sexual shit. But it's still a decent storyline. They could still make it funny. So we'll see what happens with that. I mean, it's something decently interesting. I'm not going to say it's like the greatest storyline of all time, but it is, kind of does a little bit make you wonder, okay, what's going to happen in the future with Ric Flair and Lacey Evans. Then we have Mace defeating Woods. I guess Mace is another one of these Retribution stupid fucks that run around in these ugly looking masks. Retribution has got to be the worst fucking team that WWE's ever had. So they debut a few months ago with like 18 motherfuckers out there, just running around like little children. And then apparently now they only have 4 people. I thought they went away. Apparently they're back now as a jobber tag team. All they are is a wannabe Nexus. I mean, they suck. They're awful. So this match was just another boring throwaway match. That finisher from Mace, I mean, Mace is like, he's like 6'8" or something like that, they were saying. And his finisher looked very bad. I don't know if he botched it or what, but he took Woods up into a fireman's carry, and then he just kind of dropped him. It looked pretty bad. Oh, and I want to talk about this too. So we had this fake news segment from, it had Triple H, Cena, Orton, and Reigns in it. And they were announcing the WrestleMania venues for the next 3 years. Holy fuck, this was cringeworthy. And I know this was just a little 1 minute thing, but this is just a microcosm of what WWE is. Like, who the fuck puts this together and says this is entertaining, this is funny to watch? This 1 minute stupid segment was awful. I mean, I don't even think an 8-year-old child would have found this funny. I mean, it was just so uh, it was so cringeworthy. And again, just a microcosm of the non-talent that the creative team has. I mean, they just should have had Michael Cole just say, "Oh, we got WrestleMania 36 at this venue, WrestleMania 38 here, WrestleMania." Should have just had a simple announcement from Michael Cole. Then we get this weird short promo between Alexa Bliss and Azuka. It was only like a couple minutes, maybe like 5 minutes long. It didn't do much for me. Um, but I'll get to Alexa Bliss later in the show. Then we have Baszler defeating Rose. Just a boring fucking match. The only decent thing in this match was the attack on the arm. Was an alright little thing there, but for the most part, a shit match. Then we have Styles defeating Ricochet. A good match here. Not a great one, but a good match. There's no doubt about it. Ricochet's talented. It's just, again, with these NXT guys, can they develop a character? Like, you could be the greatest wrestler of all time, but if you don't have a character, if you don't have something that makes you, that makes people, entertained, like Steve Austin was never the greatest wrestler, but he had a great character, great promo ability. And I think Ricochet, I haven't seen much of him, but it just feels like he has that problem. He's definitely a good wrestler, though. I mean, this was a good match. That finish was really cool, by the way, where Ricochet springboard off the ropes into a Styles Clash. That was a really cool finisher. So this was definitely a good match here. Then we have Miz TV, and we're told we're going to get Goldberg, right? We're going to get Goldberg. But we don't get Goldberg. We get fucking Gilbert. So there's WWE false advertising saying, fuck you. It's like fucking going to a steakhouse and you're promised, oh, you're going to get a nice steak. But instead they bring out a fucking garden salad. I mean, it's stupid. Like, why would you false advertise that? And I'm not opposed to false advertising if you're gonna do a really cool surprise that's gonna be way better than the advertisement you're doing. But if you're gonna advertise fucking Goldberg on the show and you're gonna give us fucking Gilbert, no, that's not acceptable. And we got a Royal Rumble title match coming up, and we haven't had Goldberg on the show in 2 weeks. I mean, what the fuck's going on here? I know McIntyre has COVID, but you could put Goldberg in the ring and just have McIntyre on the Tron. Just do a promo, do some build to this show. But no, there's probably going to be very little build to this show. And I also want to bring up Jeff Jarrett, who had like a 30-second promo doing his predictions. It was funny because he said, I think Goldberg's going to do a spear, a jackhammer, and then pin him for the win. And I agree. That's probably going to happen because that's what happens in every Goldberg match. 2 fucking moves in a pin. So you probably Jeff Jarrett is probably right on the money there. But is he really, making a wild prediction? No, because all Goldberg matches are like 2 minutes long and they suck ass. So then they got Gilbert, and then they got this other random ass dude impersonating McIntyre. And you could see his fucking ass crack through the entire segment. I mean, what the fuck? I mean, I did not need to see that, people. It's like you see Lacey Evans, a nice, beautiful woman, and then you come to this segment and you see this guy's, crack. Like, just, I did not need to see that, people. Just very gross. Then you get so this segment was just stupid. It's funny. They're doing this segment in place of an actual build to a championship match at the Rumble. Guys, it's January 19th or January 18th. We got one more week to build to the Rumble, and there's been no interaction between Goldberg and McIntyre. This is one of your biggest matches of the year. A title match on one of your biggest pay-per-views. Then we have the Hurt Business defeating the Luchadors and Matt Riddle. Just another boring fucking 6-man tag match. I got no interest out of any of these guys. I mean, just a terrible fucking match. Then we have Riker and Hardy ending in a disqualification. Just another 3-minute waste of time here. I don't know what the fuck they're doing with these 3 people. They had the same fucking match last week and it sucked. They had the same match this week and it fucking sucked. Probably even more. Then we have our main event with Alexa Bliss and Azuka. It was a decent thing. I kind of liked the Alexa Bliss character that they're doing. My interpretation of it is, Bray Wyatt was like burned alive, so he's fucking dead. But Alexa Bliss is kind of shook over that. She's kind of got some mental problems, where she has her happy side and then her dark side kind of bipolar. So I like the character. It's an interesting little character actually. You got to give credit where credit's due. However, I don't like the magical shit. I don't like the fireballs. I don't like the changing outfits like in 1 second, what she did at the end of the show. I don't like the magical shit, the shit that can never happen, because there's not one person on this earth that has been shown to be able to produce fire from their hands. So get the fuck out of here with that bullshit. WWE is supposed to be a a representation of reality. It's supposed to be believable. Fireballs are not believable, and I don't like them. Um, but you could make the argument her talking to an empty chair is her kind of being a little kooky in the head, and I don't mind. I don't mind things like that. But I don't like the fireballs. Again, I like the character. It's got promise. It's got intrigue to it. I thought this match was. I liked it. I like the intrigue to it. I like the Alexa Bliss character. I think she does it really well. It really interested me. Um, but I just can't get over the fireballs. And again, the changing of outfits in like 1 second. I don't like that shit. But other than that, I do think this character has promise. Um, I I don't like the burning alive of the Fiend, because again, it's not believable that somebody could get burned alive and then just come right back from that. You would be dead. you know, um, like I don't like that. I mean, I get like you maybe fall from like 20 feet. Like, okay, that's believable that you get an injury, but then you come back from that. But being burned alive is just a little too much. But I think this character is interesting. I thought this was a decent way to end the show. Um, but other than so you had a decent little main event here, and um, I'm just looking at this show though, and it's like, where is the build to the Royal Rumble? Like, don't we have a big ass pay per view coming up in 2 weeks? Don't we have the one of the biggest pay per views of the year coming up in 2 weeks? Drew McIntyre and Goldberg. No build to that. And what are the other matches on the fucking show? I don't feel like there's any other matches on this show that I've heard of. I mean, obviously the Rumble match, even that there's been little mention of. Like, how about title matches? Like, is anybody defending their title on this show? Like, I haven't heard anything about it watching the show for the last 3 weeks. And again, that's just always been a problem with this company. They fail to legitimately build up to their pay per views. So you had a good match between Styles and Ricochet, and a decent main event. So you had pretty much two good segments on this show, but everything else sucked. And again, this show just continues to disappoint me. Continues to be shit. No character development, no good promos, no good matches, no good anything on this show. I mean, everybody feels like a lower mid carder or a jobber. There's hardly anybody on this show that really feels like a main event talent, if anybody. Um, I mean, your world champ McIntyre is a generic baby face. Goldberg is your number one contender, just comes out of nowhere. 55-year-old number one contender, washed up fucking moron, comes back and ruins my life again. Um, so I mean, this show just sucked again, and I'm sure it will continue to suck until WWE starts doing, starts producing a decent little fucking show here for once. Actually puts time into character development. Actually makes intricate storylines instead of this bland, boring bullshit that we see every week, week after week after week. 3 hours upon 3 hours of shit every week. So there you go, people. There's my Raw review.